Welcome. I'm Lee Cowan, and this is Here Comes the Sun, a closer look at some of the people, places, and things we bring you every weekend on Sunday morning. Larry Gagosian, he may be one of the biggest art dealers in history. With 18 galleries around the world, he has more exhibition space than some art museums do. Anthony Mason caught up with Gagosian at his flagship studio in New York.
It's a brutal business.
It's a blood sport.
What do you love about this most?
I love the challenge. I love winning.
Gagosian represents more than 100 artists and shows the work of Picasso, Warhol, and de Kooning. His clients include billionaire mega collectors like New York Mets owner Steve Cohen, music mogul David Geffen, and cosmetics heir Leonard Lauder.
That's why New York is such a great city for an art dealer.
Yeah.
Because you have all these super competitive, rich guys trying to, in a certain way, outdo each other. I got one, I got a better one.
Later in the show, Larry Gagosian on his eye for art.
Everybody says you have an incredible eye. Where do you think that came from? Considering you didn't have an education for it?
I think it's something that I was just born with, you know? I mean, I don't really know any other way of explaining it. I mean, I would always spot the prettiest girl in the class.
That's the start.
It's the start. It's a good start.
Yeah.
And I responded to visual things, aesthetics, things that look good. I mean, I just sort of had that eye that wasn't trained on art. But looking back, I could see that I just had a pretty heightened aesthetic sense.
Then Seth Doane speeds off to the largest motor event in the world. The Mille Miglia is a 1,000-mile car race that takes place every year in Italy. It's not the drivers, though, who are the stars, it's the cars.
Mille means thousand in Italian, and miglia is miles. This 1,000-mile race of classic cars on open roads goes from Brescia to Rome and back over 5 days.
It's the great race.
What makes this the great race?
Enzo Ferrari called it the most beautiful race in the world.
Yeah.
And we're here to find out if that's true.
That's all coming up right here on Here Comes the Sun. Legendary American art dealer Larry Gagosian. He represents over 100 artists, and with an estimated annual revenue of over $1 billion, he has some pretty deep pockets. In 2022, he won Andy Warhol's Marilyn painting, which set an auction record for a 20th century artist. The price tag, $195 million. Anthony Mason sat down with him to learn why he calls art dealing a blood sport.
On any night, he can have art openings in Paris, in London, or at his flagship gallery in New York.
That's the painting that the title of the show comes from.
Yeah.
With 18 galleries around the globe,
And he's a great curator and a great artist.
Larry Gagosian has more exhibition space than most museums. His annual revenues are estimated at over $1 billion, which, as the New Yorker put it, may make Gagosian the biggest art dealer in the history of the world.
The American Dream, Warhol's Sublime, Marilyn Monroe.
In 2022, when Andy Warhol's Shot Sage Blue Marilyn
150 million.
set an auction record for a 20th century artist at Christie's, the winning bidder
And selling.
was Larry Gagosian.
To you, sir, $170 million.
That must have been a crazy moment.
When you're bidding at that level, it's just your adrenaline is,
Yeah.
and it's very exciting.
The final price with fees, $195 million.
It's a brutal business.
It's a blood sport.
What do you love about this most?
I love the challenge. I love winning.
Gagosian represents more than 100 artists and shows the work of Picasso, Warhol, and de Kooning. His clients include billionaire mega collectors like New York Mets owner Steve Cohen, music mogul David Geffen, and cosmetics heir Leonard Lauder.
That's why New York is such a great city for an art dealer.
Yeah.
Because you have all these super competitive, rich guys trying to, in a certain way, outdo each other. I got one, I got a better one.
Gagosian, who grew up in an Armenian family in L.A., never had any formal art training. In the 70s, he was working as a parking attendant.
Then I saw somebody selling posters.
Literally on the street.
They were literally on the street.
What made you want to do what he was doing?
I saw that and I said, geez, I could do that. And so I bought basically the same posters, and I'd literally pay $1 a piece and then put a little aluminum frame on them and put them on a pegboard and try to get as close to $20 as I could, which is pretty good profit margin.
He built it into a business and started having shows. In 1981, a young New York artist caught his eye, Jean-Michel Basquiat.
You bought what, 3 paintings on the spot?
That's right. You know what you're talking about. I bought 3 paintings on the spot and I sadly sold them all. I wish I still owned them.
He'd give Basquiat his first West Coast exhibition.
That show kind of put your gallery on the map.
It was the big deal in LA. We did the show and it was like mobbed.
Yeah.
The buzz was just unbelievable. I've never experienced anything like that in my gallery.
But Gagosian knew New York was the center of the art world, and in 1985, he relocated.
How were you received in the New York art world?
They didn't like me. I mean, it was kind of, I guess they thought I was going to, cause some trouble.
Yeah, well, you kind of did.
People try to slow me down. I'd rather not go into that litany, but I was roughed up quite a bit by competitors, I think very unfairly.
They gave you a nickname.
Go-Go?
Yeah.
When I was a kid,
my
friends had a hard time pronouncing my name, Gagosian, and that's really when it started, but then it became, people associated it with something else.
But Gagosian made an important ally, the esteemed dealer Leo Castelli. On a walk together one day, Castelli stopped a nondescript man in the street.
So I said, well, who is that? And he said, well, that's Cy Newhouse, and I'll never forget his very words, he can buy anything.
Newhouse, who owned the Condé Nast magazine empire, would become Gagosian's first big client. At Sotheby's 1988 auction of Jasper John's painting, False Start, they sat side by side.
He didn't want to be seen bidding, so he would literally nudge me when he wanted to bid. And I bid, and I think it was around $17 million.
Yes.
And he got the painting,
It was a record for a living artist at the time.
It was, like jaw-dropping.
That price seems almost quaint today.
Do you think there's a $1 billion painting out there?
Maybe. I don't see why not. Young artists, if they're really talented, can sell for $1 million.
I asked Gagosian about the comments of one of his former rivals, Arnie Glimcher of Pace Gallery.
5 years ago, he said, this market has nothing to do with art. It's all about how fast one can make money.
There's certain truth to what he's saying, but I don't think it's just about money at all. I don't think, if people didn't love art, I think they wouldn't buy it at that level. I don't think it's just an asset class, and it's not just about money. It's just gotten more expensive to buy really great art.
Do you think in any way it distances ordinary people from loving art?
No. I think it actually makes art seem more interesting. Wow, somebody spent X amount of money for a painting? Wow, that's fascinating.
Gagosian, who's had some high-profile romances, is single and has no children. He's still energized by the hustle.
I guess to a degree I thrive on it. It gives you something to go for.
Why do you thrive on it?
Because I'm tenacious and because I like to win.
What's the win for you?
The win is to keep it going. The win is to survive at the top.
Yeah.
There's no real finish line.
But there is, of course, and the man who's been called the closest thing the art world has to a Caesar still has no plans of succession for his empire.
Can there be a Gagosian without Gagosian?
I don't know. That's the question. I don't want to think it's an impossibility. I think it's a serious challenge, but I'm not ready to pass the reins. I enjoy it too much.
Are you ever going to be, do you think?
No.
Well, it kind of means you're like never at rest.
Well, there's no time to rest, really. It's overrated.
It's overrated.
Up next, an exclusive excerpt from Anthony Mason's chat with Larry Gagosian, something you can only see right here on Here Comes the Sun. Stay with us. As promised, here's more of Anthony Mason's interview with Larry Gagosian.
You never actually had any formal art training.
It's true. It's true. I never took any art classes.
Yeah.
No.
So why are you so good at this?
Practice.
Why did this suit you so much?
Well, I didn't expect to have a career as an art dealer. To be honest with you, I didn't even know there was such a career because
Right.
I didn't grow up in a family that really, we didn't go to museums. We had no art at home.
Yeah.
So the idea that you could make a living, and a pretty good one,
Yeah.
as an art dealer was something I never anticipated or could even conceptualize.
Everybody says you have an incredible eye. Where do you think that came from? Considering you didn't have an education
I think
for
it's
it?
something that I was just born with, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, I don't really know any other way of explaining it. I mean, I would always spot the prettiest girl in the class.
That's the start.
It's a start. It's a good start.
Yeah.
And I responded to visual things, aesthetics, things that look good. I mean, I just sort of had that eye that wasn't trained on art, but looking back, I could see that I just had a pretty heightened aesthetic sense. And art was a perfect fit for me because I could utilize a very good eye, I think, to help me build a career.
Yeah, it was a combination of your visual instincts and your business instincts.
Yeah, exactly.
You developed a particularly long and close relationship with Cy Twombly. What was the origin of that, and what was at the heart of that relationship?
We just sort of clicked, I mean, when we met, it's, how do relationships start? They're all different. We became really, we didn't end up living together, but we became really good friends. We'd travel together, we'd take vacations together, we spent a lot of time together in Italy. I got to know Virginia really well, which I love Virginia, and I never would have gone to Virginia if it was the fact that Cy lived down there. And I almost bought a house in Lexington, Virginia, if you can believe it or not, because I wanted to be close to him.
How would you describe a great relationship between an artist and their dealer?
Success and trust,
Yeah.
I think, are the two most important things. Yeah. Artists want to be successful, just like dealers want to be successful. Yeah. So you have to do a good job. And you have to trust the person you're dealing with. Mm-hmm. And I think also it's important that you enjoy their company. I mean, not every artist will be your best friend like Cy and I were, Cy Twombly and I, but you have to have a rapport with the artist. They have to feel comfortable. You have to be able to have dinner with them, lunch with them, talk to them. It's a relationship. And it's a big responsibility for me or for any gallery, because they have one career. That's what they make in the studio. I work with a lot of artists, but you can never forget that for that artist, that's their life. It's a huge responsibility.
Up next, racing through Italy. Welcome back. The Mille Miglia road race began in 1927. But after a terrible car crash killed 2 drivers and 9 spectators in 1957, it was canceled until it made a comeback in the late 70s. All the cars must be an original car that participated in the race between 1927 and 1957, or at least the same model. Seth Doane hit the road to see how this race is a celebration of history for everyone involved.
Quickly.
This father-son duo came from California to race this tiny 1957 Fiat on the back roads of Italy.
Slow. We were way off on that one.
A graduation celebration for the classic car-obsessed David Ely. He and his dad Len set off among almost 100 others, practicing for a stunningly scenic race with routes stretching back nearly a century. Their car was the first off the starting line in 1957.
That was how this started, was he emailed me the newsreel and said, Joe owns this, we could do the Mille, and it was kind of like, oh.
You're just using this for directions.
Their friend Joe Hurwich bought this Fiat specifically to race in the Mille Miglia, Mille means thousand in Italian, and Miglia is miles. This 1,000-mile race of classic cars on open roads goes from Brescia to Rome and back over 5 days.
It's the great race.
What makes this the great race?
Enzo Ferrari called it the most beautiful race in the world.
Yeah.
And we're here to find out if that's true.
This most beautiful race in the world began in 1927, and pausing for the war continued until a terrible crash in 1957 killed 2 drivers and 9 spectators. A tragedy dramatized in the 2023 film Ferrari. It's been back since the late 70s as a follow the speed limit rally of precise timed trials. Last year, more than 400 classic and vintage cars were accepted, including that Fiat 600 the Ely's drove, and another car their friend Joe Horwich bought, this 1931 Aston Martin.
You buy a car, or in your case, cars, to get in.
It's not the person that gets in, it's the car. The car has to be either the original car that ran in the race between 1927 and 57, or it has to be the same model of a car that ran in the race.
It's Hurwich's 5th Mille Miglia after trying to get in for a decade.
It's a bit of an obsession, this.
You sound like my wife.
We understood better while out for a spin.
Maybe a little further if you don't mind. It's kind of fun.
You mean you might get hooked?
I might get hooked.
The non-car guy?
I'm going to need a new job to get really hooked.
The race was passing through villages just on your doorstep.
Growing up in Brescia, Francesca Perolin was raised on the Mille Miglia.
So make sure you check the next page.
Now she's the COO helping to run it.
And the cars being raced could be your daily car.
But it's not exactly daily cars being raced today.
What do you say to someone who says this all just feels out of touch with the world today, kind of underlines the inequality in the world?
Well, of course, some of the cars are expensive, but the secret of Mille Miglia is that it's a celebration of our history and everyone can be part of. We have spectators on the road, they don't have to pay. And after all, you can take part into the Mille Miglia with a Fiat 600. You don't need a $20 million cars.
Cars cannot have any major modifications and need to be properly restored. We spoke near where they're checked and certified to race.
Mille Miglia is by now the largest motorsport event in the world.
Largest motorsport event in the world.
It is.
You think of Formula One?
No. We have more cars, we have more miles, we have more spectators on the road.
It's that dream of, if you've watched the Mille Miglia, you know, you're standing in the street and you're seeing these cars going by and you're thinking, oh gosh, I'd love to do that. Well, this actually makes it possible.
Debbie Travis, a British-Canadian TV personality, and her car-loving husband, Hans Rosenstein, have a villa in Tuscany not far from where the Mille Miglia passes by. Now, they host a week-long Mille Miglia-inspired classic car rally retreat for tourists, including Jim and JC Germani, who came from Osterville, Massachusetts.
The Ferrari, I've been wanting to drive that car ever since I was 7 years old.
And what's better than driving a Ferrari through Italy?
And it's a bit like being in kindergarten. I have to say to people, no, you've been in the Bugatti once, you have to do this. So, you know, they get to drive usually 2 or 3 cars a day, so they're swapping as we go along with pit stops.
They wind along picturesque roads, including nearby Pienza.
The hardest thing for the driver is the scenery is so breathtaking, you know, but they've got to keep their eyes on the road.
Back in Brescia, eyes are on these cars as they turn the streets into an open-air museum. Jack Broomall and Lisa Barrow first did a test run at a scaled-back Mille Miglia rally in the U.S.
This one is more intense. We're still married, so that's good.
Check in again in about a week.
A friend from the U.S. helped them borrow this 1955 Alfa Romeo.
And where can you go and walk down the street and see half a dozen Bugattis and 4 going Mercedes all being driven, right? It's the neatest dynamic car show ever.
That's a big part of this. These cars are not sitting. They're not under lights. They're on the road.
These are not cars that are maintained in someone's elegant garage at home. I like that element of it, that the cars are driven. And they're driven hard. They're driven like they were meant to be in the day.
This journey is also a test of drivers' endurance in these old cars, often without much protection from the elements. Over the 1,000 miles, Jack Bromwell and Lisa Barrow did remain married. We saw Joe Hurwitz passing through Rome in his Aston Martin, accomplishing the same goal that David and Len Ely set.
We're just going to have fun. Our goal is to finish.
Finish they did. A test of mechanics, will, and despite cheering fans lining the roads, humility.
I mean, the Italians love the car. It's amazing, you know. They don't care about us, but which is perfectly fine. The car is the star.
I'm Lee Cowan. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you right here next time on Here Comes the Sun.